Okay, welcome back to part 2 of my April 2013 wrap-up. I apologize this wrap-up is taking so long because I am pretty much giving mini reviews of each of these books. And if I film reviews during the course of the month, this won't happen next time. But I've got about 7 more books, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the next book I read is the first book in the Memory Chronicles, and it's entitled The Memory of After. It's written by Lenore Appelhans. And the book was formerly referred to as Level 2, but the publishers and author decided that that was confusing and people might think that was book 2 in a series. So they renamed it The Memory of After. This is a book I read on pulsit.com, so I don't have a physical copy, but I will show you a copy of the cover right now. So in The Memory of After, we come to meet Felicia Ward, who died just before her 18th birthday, and she's currently on Level 2. Which is sort of like a limbo between this world and the next. And she's one of the drones, as the residents are called. And they live in a sort of an enclosed hive. And there she meets Virginia and Becca, who become kind of good friends to her. And they pass their days just plugging into their own memory chambers and uploading and sharing, if they want to, their various memories. And they also relive those memories. During the course of events in the story, an accident occurs and one of her friends is killed and then taken away. And it seems like the next day nobody knows who this person was. They don't remember her. And she doesn't understand that because she has memories of that person. Something strange is going on. These memories, these memory chambers and the memories that we see throughout the book are like little snippets of Felicia's past. And this is how we get to know the character and you know, who she's about, who her friends were. We meet Neil, the boy she fell in love with, Autumn, her best friend, and I think his name was Julian, and he's sort of the boy that like tore her and the other two apart. And during the course of the story, after the events with her friend being killed in the memory chamber, all of a sudden this door opens up in the wall where no door ever existed, and in steps Julian saying, "We have to go, you have to get out of here." And pulls her out, and her whole world, as it is sort of like turned upside down. This book, it moves at a really good fast pace. I like the characters. There's this whole, the best way I could describe it is it has this like the movie The Matrix. It has this Matrix feel to it that just really pulled me in. I really like the story. I like what's revealed about this particular place and who's running it and what their motives are. And I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to spoil it. But, yeah, I read this one really, really quickly. I can't wait for the next one to come out. And I definitely recommend picking this one up. I gave this one 4 stars. Okay, the next one up is Defying Mars. This is the second book in the Saving Mars series by Cidney Swanson. And in this one, Jess is returning to Mars to a hero's welcome. But she doesn't feel much like a hero after it's only like a partially successful mission. Too many died en route there and back, and too many were left behind. And weighing most heavily on her mind is her brother Ethan. And in this story, she has to find some way to try and convince Mars's government to launch an immediate rescue, literally within like 2 weeks of her arrival or return back to Mars. Because if they wait any longer than that, the 2 planets' rotations will carry them so far apart that launching a rescue mission will just be implausible. And as you can tell kind of by the title, you could probably guess Mars's reaction or decision. This book had me on the edge of my seat with events taking place both on board the ship with Jess and the situation she's put through and the danger, and also with what's going on with her brother and Pavel, the boy that we meet in the first book, who's a resident of Earth and kind of developed a relationship with Jess while she was there. Great, great sequel. Wasn't one of those fillers you're thinking it's just a stepping stone between book 1 and the finale. Definitely worth reading this one, and I gave this one 5 stars. Okay, the next book I have for you is The Diviners by Libba Bray. And this is sort of a YA paranormal book in which we get to meet Evie O'Neill. She is a young kind of flapper girl. And she has a special gift. She can touch an object and discern a secret of the object or the person who owns it just by touching it. And during a party one night, she kind of gets a little too drunk and performs this sort of trick and reveals some scandalous information about a young man. And he's furious. I mean, he knows she's speaking the truth. He doesn't know how she knows it. And she's not going to admit it, but later on he threatens lawsuit, demands an apology. Evie refuses. She says she knows what she said is true, but again, she can't admit that she has this gift. She doesn't want anybody else to know. Hang on 1 second here. So, her parents decide that maybe the best course of action would be to send her away, send her to live with her Uncle Will for the summer until things kind of, quiet down, people forget about it, and Evie's thrilled. New York City, Broadway, speakeasies, music. She's thrilled to go, so she jumps at the chance. And we meet her Uncle Will. He's the curator of, and I'll look here, it's the Museum of American Folklore, Superstition, and the Occult, better known as the Museum of Creepy Crawlies. I like that term. He's fascinated by the occult. And during the course of the story, there's these serial murders taking place, and the police call in Uncle Will, her Uncle Will, to help with the investigation because a murder girl is found with an occult symbol branded on her chest, and they need to know more information about this. And while she's there, Evie starts to worry that maybe her uncle will uncover her secret, but then she starts to wonder that maybe her secret would help catch this killer, so she's kind of torn on her decision on what to do. This is set in the 1920s, the flapper era, Prohibition, like I said, speakeasies, the Ziegfeld girls. We see all of this very wonderfully detailed by the author, and we see it through the eyes of Evie and a cast of other characters. There's Jericho, Memphis, Theta, Sam, many, many more. One of my favorite characters, just by the sheer creepiness of him, is Naughty John. We meet him right up at the very beginning of it, and whenever he appears in the book, it gives you chills. It's the most intense scenes in the book, and really propel the major part of the story. My main problem with this particular book is I have absolutely no interest in that era. I don't care about the flapper era. I don't like jazz music. I don't like the whole scene of it, the way they dress, the way they act, the slang terms used in here. I'm sure it was probably the typical slang used by kids in that era, but it got to be a bit excessive. A fellow book blogger said you could have turned it into a drinking game every time I said the word positively, because it just drove me nuts every time I heard Evie say that. And I just thought, that was great. I should have done that. Probably would have gotten through the book a little quicker. But I can't hold that against the author or the writing style of this book, because, yes, she did an amazing job of bringing that world to life. Just because it's something that doesn't appeal to me, I can't say that deters from the writing itself. So I won't hold that, against my, in terms of my overall opinion of the book. There are so many people that love the story, but they also love that era, so that gave that added bit to the book. I think, at 578 pages, did it need to be that long? No, it definitely could have used editing. There were parts that were quite slow. The ending part, I said the ending third of it at least, definitely ramps up and gets really, really intriguing and pulls you in. And I will be reading the next book in the series. I'm hoping it's not quite as big, and that she doesn't say positively quite as often. But yeah, it's supposed to be a 4-part series, so yeah, that's a lot of storyline. But it was definitely worth reading. I gave this one overall a 4 stars. The next book I have for you is Dearly Departed, and this is by Leah Habel. It's the first in the Gone with the Respiration series. I absolutely love the name of that series, and it suits the plot line, which you'll come to find out. This is set in the year 2195, and the world has been devastated by war and disease and famine. There have been rising ocean tides, which have pretty much wiped out England and Japan. The United States no longer exists as a country after its second civil war. And everyone just wants to return to more simpler, peaceful times. And this story takes place in New Victoria, which has sort of adapted the dress, the way of life, everything about the Victorian era. But yet there's still the technology side that still exists. There are ID chips, there are vid screens, electric-powered carriages. So it takes on kind of a steampunk feel to it. And there's also these kind of wars or battles that are taking place by a group known as the punks. They don't like the whole use of technology. They want to go totally Victorian era. They want all the technology removed. And while this is happening, there are battles between the government and the punks. It's sort of used also as propaganda to hide a deeper problem that's taking place, a more dangerous war that the government is fighting that they don't want the general population to know about. And again, my computer is goofing up here. Okay. So in the story, we meet Nora Dearly. She's just coming out of a year of mourning from the death of her father, who was kind of a notable scientist. And her mother died some years earlier, and she's been living with her aunt. Her aunt is now deciding it's time for her to come out to society and become engaged to a wealthy young man. And she would really rather have none of that. She'd rather be out there, guns a-blazing, fighting the punks in the streets. I mean, she used to watch the vid screens with her father when he was alive, and watching all this. And she's quite a headstrong young woman, and would rather be out there battling than, engaging in high society and dating and all that. But neither one really gets their wish when a group of zombies, yes, I said zombies, known as the Greys, because they're wearing these gray uniforms, come and try and attack Nora. And instead, coming to her rescue is another group of zombies. These are the good guys. They're being led by a young man by the name of Bram Griswold. He's also a zombie. And but they're the good ones. Like I said, they are the non-brain devouring, non-flesh eating zombies. And they kind of kidnap / rescue her from the Greys and take her back with them to their group. And this is one of those books that zombie purists are going to have problems with. If you didn't like Warm Bodies, you're probably not going to like this one because, again, the zombies have feelings. They these can talk pretty well, some of them. There are different levels of zombies. We have the Greys, which are the evil ones. They're kind of controlled by some unknown entity for purposes unknown, and we don't really know why they want to kidnap Nora. Then there are Bram's group, which are the good guys kind of battling against the Greys. And then, of course, you have the ones that are really deteriorating. They're just out to eat, brains. And so they're, like I said, there's those three kind of groups of zombies. And if you're a zombie purist and you think, though, they shouldn't be able to talk, they should just be focused on one thing, brains, you're not going to probably like this book. But I loved it. I loved the humor in it. It had me laughing out loud for some of the comments. I liked all the characters. It's told from multiple points of view. We get Nora's view. I have to remember all of them. We get Bram's point of view, his Commander Wolf, Nora's best friend Pamela. I love Pamela. Pamela's an excellent character. As things start to unfold and become revealed to the general public, she really steps up, and you can see she's quite a brave character and just steps out of her Victorian mode that she's kind of grown up in and really takes charge. And I loved her character. I love the pacing of this book. I love everything about it. I can't wait for the next book in the series. If you like the Warm Bodies, definitely pick this one up. If you just want to see a really good story, pick it up. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars. The next book I read was actually an audio I rented from the library, so I don't have a physical copy or a picture or anything to show you. But it's the second book in the Matched series by Ali Condi, entitled Crossed. The whole book is sort of focused on events leading after Matched, where Kai is sort of taken from his adoptive parents and sent to the outer provinces to work, where it kind of means almost certain death. And Cassia and her parents are relocated and given new work positions. And the whole plot of this book seems to be Cassia trying to find Kai, Kai trying to find Cassia. We're introduced to a new group called the Rising. I'm not too sure I trust them or what their motives are. I don't know. That remains to be seen. Maybe in the finale. But because the whole plot of this was focused on the two trying to find each other and reunite, it made me hate the ending perhaps all the more. I really did not like this book at all. I almost feel like it almost was unnecessary because it's tries to get to one point and ends up back where you started from. You feel like you just went full circle. Overall, I only give this one 2 stars. And the next one I have, I'm going to put a picture up. This is a book I read on Pulsit.com, and it's the first in the Vision series. It's entitled Crash by Lisa McMann. So Crash is a book that I, like I said, read on Pulsit.com. It was only offered for like 24 hours, and kind of at the last minute I decided to read it, not wondering if I'd be able to finish it within that time frame. I read this in probably about 3 hours. It is such a fast-paced book. It moved so well, and I was so intrigued by what was happening, I didn't want to stop reading it. So, yeah, it's about a girl named Jules who keeps seeing this vision of an accident, a car crash. It crashes into a building, there's an explosion, and ultimately there's 9 body bags laid out. And she starts to see this vision on a billboard. and then it's on TV screen, she sees it on the computer screen, she sees it on the backs of any flat surface anywhere reflecting back at her. It starts to take over her life, and she doesn't know where these images are coming from because she's never witnessed an accident. One day she's on the computer and it appears, and she's sort of able to like almost slow motion through this video and see more detail. And she slowly throughout the book pulls out more and more detail of this crash, thinking that maybe there's some way she can prevent it. And when she sees the identity of one of the bodies in the body bag, someone she knows she really has to find a way to stop this from happening. I love the characters in this book. Jules, her older brother Trey, her younger sister Rowan, they all work at the family's Italian restaurant, from waiting tables to driving the meatball truck. It's a truck with 2 meatballs on the top. Gets quite a few ribbing from that. And there's this rival Italian restaurant, family run, there's a young boy there that she kind of used to be friends with, and for some reason the families broke apart and they're not allowed to be friends. It has this almost like a Romeo and Juliet kind of feel to it in a weird sort of way. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was, like I said, fast-paced, great characters, great storyline. I gave it 5 stars. And the final book, I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it because it is the 5th book in the Gone series by Michael Grant, entitled Fear. It is the second to last book in the series. Darkness starts to descend on our group of kids trapped in this sort of dome, and fear ramps quite up. A lot of action in this one, a lot of creepy things. Boy, these kids go through quite a lot. I can't wait to see how this all ends. Yeah, I went through this one pretty quick, too. I don't know why I had it sitting on my shelf so long. I should have read it a long time ago. I gave this one 5 stars. If you haven't read this series yet, you definitely need to pick it up. Again, thanks for watching. Like I said, I read a lot of books. I'm already into quite a few coming up for May, so I will try to do a few more video reviews for you on this channel, and therefore keep these wrap-ups a little shorter. But again, thanks for watching, and hope you guys have a great reading month in May.